Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I wanted to wish you a happy full moon. Today is full moon in Aries. And I'm going to read to you some things from astrologyking.com. I know that this full moon has absolutely been affecting me. It's been affecting some of the people around me. This past week has been emotionally hard for many, many people. And I think it has to do with all the events leading up to the full moon. This is Ecuador, day 11. And finally, they sat down, the indigenous tribal leaders and the president of Ecuador sat down, and after a lot of tense talks today, decided to reinstate all of the subsidies. Just like that. Which might be temporarily a good idea. There will eventually, maybe in the next 24 hours, unblock all of our damn roads. That would be nice. It'd be nice to, for people downtown to be able to get gas and food. I don't know if the super maxis were able to get food in. I know the corrals did. So, we've been eating food that we got at corral. We've been fine. I think that when this started, the people who managed this apartment building ran out and got a bunch of gas propane tanks, and my son went down there. He's like, there's 15 enormous propane tanks downstairs, and that's why we didn't run out of gas. We did for one afternoon and I panicked and I ran out and I got the steam cooker, which I've been using for a couple nights, and it's been working out really well. So if you guys want to go get a Black & Decker digital steamer, wow, it's like it cooks the food in 20 minutes. I put in frozen tuna steaks or frozen shrimp, and I put the vegetables, the fresh vegetables in the bottom tray because they need a little bit more steam to make sure they cook. But in 20 minutes, dinner's done. It's fully healthy. It's just cooked with steam. There's no oil. You could add butter or oil after if you're, doing the keto diet. We need a little bit extra fat, but I prefer to put the butter on my popcorn. And also I've been eating spoonfuls of coconut oil, but instead of other oil. But today I tossed the shrimp with a little bit of garlic and olive oil before I steamed it. And it was really good. It was surprisingly good. But so I'm like, even though we do have gas, I'm like, well, I don't know if we're going to run out. I don't know if they'll unblock the road. So that's what I've been doing. But things got really hairy and really scary in Quito. Worse. Everything got escalated. And all of these men in black hoodies with a black ski mask and black pants, black shoes, just completely dressed in black. Not only did they take over the auditor's office and catch it on fire, they also took over 2 newspapers and a television station, or at least tried to. They started setting fires outside the doors, trying to kill all the people inside. I mean, it got really dark and really nasty yesterday. And I don't think that any of those people were indigenous, and I don't think that they were any of the groups that were originating. They weren't transportation strikers. They were I'm pretty sure multinational people coming in trying to create chaos and terror and crisis. And I think they might have been communist, or they might have been gangs. I mean, no one really truly knows who all these people are. The Venezuelan assassin idea was thrown about. The Latin Kings idea was thrown about. One of the biggest reasons besides money that they wanted to stop the subsidies is because it's making it easier for human traffickers and child traffickers to kidnap people off the streets and take them across the border because gas is so cheap here compared to other places. So the president wanted to prevent all that, and we've had pressure in Ecuador from the United States and from the IMF to make changes. And he did make a lot of changes, but he had to capitulate to the indigenous people because it's already cost billions of dollars in revenue losses, 40 million in the tourism industry alone. And there's not, hotels around the country have not been even 10% occupied. Usually, on average, even in off-season, they're 30 to 40% occupied. So this past week has been, like 11 days, it's just been tense. And even while these talks were going on, there were fires in the streets in Quito. People were scared. People that I've been talking to from all over the country, but especially people in Quito, they're like, I'm really sad. I'm scared to death. I'm afraid to leave my house. They're killing people outside. And I'm like, who's killing people? Like these masked men with guns, or the police? And my friends are like saying both. It's like just people, you can't go outside because you're going to be killed. And so I'm glad that this crisis is starting to come to an end now, but I'm sad because now where the hell's the money going to come from if it's not coming from subsidies? I wish he would have did something with the native people. Like if he would have said, like, how about if I give subsidies to the indigenous lands in those states? Or how about if we do 50-50, or, I'll give your people money, to the poorest people, which he had already said he was going to do. So, and he had already started to implement that. So I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened there. But everything's going to be back to normal, and we're still $64 billion in debt. It's not the $21 trillion the United States is in debt, though. So, hey. I don't know. There's that. But full moon, October 13th, 2019, opportunity from crisis. Those are the key words, and makes sense. There's been a lot of crisis here. I think it's not just us. So all over the world, there's been crisis, and there's been personal and relationship crisis with people, and there's been global social related crisis. People against the government type of crisis. So what it says is that this full moon in 20 degrees Aries brings intense and challenging emotions from a testing square aspect to Pluto, but a beneficial trine aspect to lucky Jupiter makes the full moon more positive overall, which is good. Lucky Jupiter, right? So it says that this full moon may trigger personal or relationship crises, but also opportunities to transform and grow and find happiness. There are especially good signs for lovers who are going through rough times. The full moon in constellation Andromeda promotes love and reconciliation, while the previous new moon continues to bring love and good fortune. Full moon meaning is says sun opposite the moon brings your home, family, and intimate relationships into sharper focus for the following 2 weeks of this moon phase. All right. Great. But it says opposing forces such as work versus home. I'm thinking people versus government, right? What you need versus what you want. Create inner tension and external pressures. This can lead to conflict and crisis that drain your energy. The lunar qualities of emotions and instincts reach their peak at a full moon. So use your increased emotional strength and intuition to overcome any relationship challenges. Subconscious awareness allows for an impartial, balanced look at your personal relationships. You will clearly see any relationship dynamics or negative feelings causing disharmony. I see in my own life that this is absolutely true. I told you guys, I think a few weeks ago, no, I guess it was in August, there was somebody that for 3 years had been kind of stringing me along. Like, when I finish my university, I'm going to come to where you live and we're going to make a go of it. We're going to try to have a relationship. And so I've been kind of putting off other people that I met that were kind of interesting, but not as good as him, right? And we kind of had, well, if you meet someone or if I meet someone, then we'll go with that. But so far he was like, wasn't my one. He's not my twin flame. He's not the one I want forever and ever and ever. But he checked off all of the boxes of everything I've been looking for in a man my whole life, right? So I'm like, I am willing to give this a try because my twin is not forthcoming. And he kept, stringing me along. Like, yes, I can't wait to be with you. I can't wait to see you. I'll come and we'll have a weekend together and we'll see how it goes. Maybe we're just best friends. Maybe we aren't compatible. We don't know. But I kind of kept my options not really open. I was just always kind of feeling like, yeah, well, I can't wait for him to come down here, right? And anyway, I found out through a picture on WhatsApp that he was with somebody else. And I'm like, oh, who's that? Is that like your cousin or something? He's like, oh, I'm so in love. It's so hard to be in love. I'm always worried about her, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like he could have told me it's been 2 or 3 dates. And I've been seeing her for just a couple weeks, but I feel like this is a potential true love for me, and I'm going to go with it. Like, that would have been the adult thing to do, but instead, I had to find out through a picture on WhatsApp. So I felt, as a friend, betrayed. Absolutely betrayed. And then the fact that I just lost one more opportunity for love, right? Well, clearly he's not my guy, and I knew that, but it kind of broke my heart, and I think it was more the betrayal of the friendship versus the loss of the love, right? Because I never had the love at all. We were hoping that it would work. But I kind of felt like we were on the same page, since those were he was reading from my book, right? He was saying all the things that I thought, and it was one of the first times I met a guy who was interested in me that was not a freaking narcissist, so I'm like, all right, and I kind of was waiting for him a little bit, maybe a lot bit in some ways, and I think I had fooled myself a little bit too, well, he said he was going to finish his degree and then he was going to move here, or at least he'll visit me a couple times and see if we feel that way about each other, and then we're going to make it go. Well, yesterday he contacted me again, and he said, oh, I lost everything in my life, and this year I screwed up everything, and I'm so sad, and everything is so bad, and blah, 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 right? Well, what the hell? Maybe he broke up with his girlfriend. I'm like, all right, well, tell me. And he's like, oh, I'm just, I've been drinking, and I'm so high, and I don't know, and I'm like, well, let's have a conversation. He's like, well, are we good? And I'm like, I guess. I mean, you betrayed me. Basically, you told me all of these things, and then you just went ahead and started dating someone who didn't tell me. You started having a relationship and didn't tell me. You still continue to string me along. And then finally, out of nowhere, you say that you're in love. How long has that been going on? Was it was it like when I was waiting for you to show up for my birthday and you just never showed up? Next thing I know, right before my birthday, I find out you're with So it was like so we hashed out all of the stuff. I'm like, well, if your heart wants what it wants, and you can't control who you love. And I just kind of felt betrayed because of the friendship, was just secondary suddenly. And all the times he told me that I was special to him, that my friendship is special, it just felt like it was a big fat lie. Well, last night he told me, you are special to me, and I blew the whole thing up, and I'm thinking, well, maybe he will come down, maybe something will happen. No, he's still with her. Oh, and I could have gotten through all this stuff without her by my side. Oh, I love her so much, she's great. And I'm thinking to myself, why is he torturing me like this? Why does he want my quote-unquote friendship when from the very beginning of our friendship, he's always said, I like that we're friends now. We're leading towards something. You know, like it's always been the talk of, and we're going to be together someday. So yet again, he brought all this crap up again. And then after like an hour and a half of talking with him, he finally said, oh no, I'm still with her. Of course I'm still with her. That's the one thing I didn't screw up this year. And I'm like, what the hell? I almost felt betrayed again. And he brought up all the pain and hurt again. It was like I was starting to heal, had a scab over that wound, and he ripped that off. First time he ripped off the Band-Aid, now he ripped off the scab. And that's the kind of thing that this full moon is bringing up for a lot of people. So it's like hurts that you were almost over or completely over or just about where like, all right, now I'm ready to start anew again, start afresh. And then the person comes back and brings all the crap up again. And that's kind of what's going on with this full moon, right? So let's see here. And it's just in anything that causes disharmony. And he really did. He really caused a lot of like trust issues that I had complete faith and trust in him because he is a good person. But he was kind of sneaky in the way that he kind of didn't express exactly what was happening. Yeah, and then last night he's like, okay, I realize I did not handle that correctly, and I'm sorry that I think I screwed up our friendship. And he's like, can't we just be friends? And he's like, why can't you just be my friend? You know, he kept saying that to me, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And then he finally said, well, I'm still my girlfriend. I'm like, shh. Like, dude, why are you even contacting me, you know? But I guess we've kind of hashed it out for 2 days and decided to be friends, but I'm still pissed off because, you know, like when he called me, I thought at first he was going to tell me he was getting married, and then he's like, oh, I've screwed up everything in my life. Absolutely everything is screwed up, and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, oh, you broke up with her. Oh, okay, so I was right. I thought for sure they were going to break up. Probably within 3 months, I thought. And it's only been like, well, I don't know how long. He's not even been honest with me. We'll see. Usually I could look at a picture of a couple and tell you how long they're going to be together. I mean, some people are absolutely just like, oh, well, you know what? They are going to be together forever, forever, forever. You know, like I have a friend who was in Peru and she was just like drifting along, didn't really know what she's doing. She's always partying. And right after I met her, like 2 months later, next thing you know, she falls in love with the guy from Germany. Now she's living in Germany with them, and they're going to get married, I think. And it's just like, what? And I saw them together. I'm like, oh, they're going to be together forever, like 20, 30 years, forever. Just so easy to see. In fact, a lot of people that I've known, that I've met from various countries are now in absolutely, completely in love situations. It's really cool to see that. Like people that, you know, there's one woman I just saw selling stuff on the side of the road for her tribe. She's a tribal person, like indigenous woman from Guatemala, and one of the coolest people ever. And our broken Spanish and her broken English, and somehow we forged this bond and friendship. And she was inspired by meeting me and the kids, and she's like, I want to start traveling too. And we went down to see her like 2 or 3 times a week for like 6 months. And now she's in love. I think she's been traveling all over the world. She's not dressing like an indigenous person anywhere. She sometimes is, and then usually she's just like wearing jeans and t-shirts. She's like free because that life was stifling to her. Absolutely, completely different person now. You know, and it's great to see how happy she is. And she's so in love. And it's like, yes, I'm so happy for you, Flora. Like, she was one of the coolest people I ever met. And, you know, so sometimes you see a picture and you go, oh, yeah, they're meant to be together forever. Oh, my God. So happy. And I saw this guy with this woman. And it wasn't even that I was jealous. I was just like, ugh. Like, her aura is crap and her energy was crap. And maybe it's just a picture. Like, why does she's like looking away from him And she has such a pissed off look, like she's so angry. And then he put up another picture of them, and she had the same look. And I'm like, what the hell is going on with this? Like, she doesn't look right. Like, there's not... He's looking at her like he's all in love, though. And she's looking like she just drank sour milk. And I'm not being mean. It's just, it's been perplexing me. I'm like, wow, that's... I don't know what's going on, you know? But my higher guidance all along said he's not going to come. He's not going to be there for you. And 2 times he tried to get a plane ticket, and it didn't work out, or a bus ticket, and it didn't work out. And one time he just didn't have enough time. One time he didn't have enough money. And then he absolutely said, I promise this time I will have the money, and I do have the time off, and I'm on my way to you, and I'll be there before your birthday. And then nothing. And I just feel like I've been strung along. I think that was it. It's just... That's what hurt me the most, being strung along, being lied to. If you just said, it's not going to work out because I don't want to leave Colombia, fine. That's awesome. And also this whole time when I was trying to get my visa, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to leave South America unless I could come and live with you in Bogota if you want to try to make it work. If I have to leave the country, I could move to Bogota and we can do the boyfriend visa. And he's like, oh my God, I'd love that. You're so perfect for me. You're the greatest woman ever. And you know me, I'm not even focused. I'm in university right now. I'm not focused on relationships right now. But if you have to, that would actually be okay. So he still hasn't graduated and he's not focused on relationships. So why did he start this with her? Right. So I just feel lied to. That's the lying. You know, so maybe he isn't as good a man as I thought originally, right? And maybe I was fooled this whole time. So I think it's cool that I'm like, this full moon is bringing this crap. Like, any relationship dynamics you're clearly seeing, any negative feelings that are causing disharmony. You're using increased emotional strength and your intuition to overcome relationship challenges. You know? So it's cool. It's cool. Let's see. The rest of this is a little bit too astrologically deep. I'm not going to read that section to you. You can go, though, if you're really into astrology, go to the astrologyking.com website. It's a really good website. I've consulted it a few times. Now it says, the full moon square Pluto leads to compulsive destructive behavior as deeply buried feelings are exposed. These may include bigotry, racism, fears, phobias, addiction, and sexual problems. Such intense emotions and reactions may become difficult to control and lead to a personal crisis. Emotional power struggles may become quite ruthless and cause a relationship crisis. Jealousy, manipulation, guilt-tripping, bullying, sexual abuse, or domestic violence may be involved. I saw a dad slapping his son the other day, like 2 days ago. I think that all of this energy started a couple days ago. Family secrets may be revealed, which may be confronting, or your own secrets or embarrassing habits may be exposed in public. So all of that, any one of those things could be happening with you in your life right now. Doesn't mean all of them, obviously. But, excuse me. But, I've seen the bigotry and racism and a lot of fears throughout all of Ecuador in the past crisis that we've been having. Thank God the peace talks happened, and that's, you know, they reached an agreement, the president and the indigenous people. So we're going to go back to having subsidies, which really sucks financially for this country. But at least indigenous people will be able to afford their lives, and that's okay. That's good. They're taken care of, and all the people, there's been 30 people arrested in relationship to the fire that was set in the auditor's office. And I think the firefighters got most of it out before the evidence was destroyed in all the corruption cases. A lot of people have been arrested, like hundreds of people now throughout this whole thing. Maybe like 1,000 people totally have been. I won't know all the numbers until like the report comes out, but I see a lot of this stuff. I'm reading like intense emotions, intense reactions, things that were difficult to control. I mean, they tried to take over the TV station and 2 newspapers and the auditor's office yesterday. And it wasn't the natives. I don't know who it was. In fact, I think the guys are outside my apartment. My son was like, no, they didn't have a Venezuelano accent. We started really analyzing it. And he's like, I honestly think that they were a gang. But they were older. Like there's like a lot of older people that started off younger as in a gang, and they're still in gangs now. Because they were acting like they were gang members. They were grown men my age. But they were acting like they were in a gang and like hoodlums or delinquents. It was crazy. Like, what the hell, man? Anyway, there is the full moon. That was a crisis part. This is the full moon opportunity part. Full moon trine Jupiter means optimism and open-mindedness makes it easier to gain conscious awareness of your intense emotions and share them with loved ones. Any relationship crisis caused by the full moon square Pluto can be turned into an opportunity to transform and evolve. Yay! Bad habits or behaviors can also be eliminated from your subconscious through the positive transformation of your emotions. Intimate relationships will benefit from your openness and honesty. Well, if I had any, that would have worked. I mean, my friend's like, oh, I want to be your friend. Why can't you just be? It's like, well, I guess we're friends. Are we good? I'm like, well, eventually we will be. You know? I'm still a little sore about being lied to for 3 years, I think. You know, I don't think he ever had any... He was just saying it to flirt, you know, and I believed him. See, because I'm gullible and naive, and I believe people. I take them at face value until they show me otherwise. And, like, I have a friend who doesn't believe a word anyone ever says, and she's, like, 38 or something now, and she's still single. Never, always single, constantly. And she always said, well, you always believe people when they tell you something. I'm like, yeah, because that's what you're supposed to do. Well, she's like, well, you get hurt. I'm like, yeah, but you're constantly hurt because you always think people are full of crap and they're never telling the truth. She's like, yeah, it's true. I think, between the two of us, we should have a happy medium. Like, someone should have a happy medium here. If you're completely untrusting to everybody, then you yourself look untrustworthy. And since I'm always trusting people, I'm trustworthy. But at the same time, I've been attracting people that would take advantage of the gullibility, I guess. I don't know. So I'm like I'm gaining that middle ground. I think everyone has to gain that middle ground. But let's see. Bad habits or behaviors can also be eliminated from your subconscious through positive transformation of your emotions. At this time, intimate relationships will benefit from openness and honesty. Mutual respect and understanding can lead to very successful personal and business partnerships. That's pretty cool. New and influential friendships are possible, and lucky breaks can lead to opportunities to increase your material wealth and level of happiness. Well, I hope that happens. That's what I need for sure. Now, Jupiter semi-sextile Pluto. Semi-sextile, it looks like a 6-pointed star drawn at the lines. It's like an X with a line through it when you look into an astrology book. And it says it's at 0 degrees 32. I don't even know what that means. Anyway, gives an urges to make positive changes, reform, and transform. Increase power, influence, increase power and influence. See, it's a noun in this case, not a verb. Increase power and influence, facilitates spiritual and personal growth, wealth creation, and professional advancement. Well, good. I hope that does happen for me, and I hope it happens for you too. Subtle but powerful forces are working behind the scenes to promote you to a higher level. Yay, 5th dimension. Success is made possible by taking full advantage of the opportunities that open up in front of you. a person of power and influence could have a profound influence on your direction in life. Well, I hope that's true too. Maybe my super famous twin flame will come to me finally. I don't know. I told you guys about the cloud that appeared a few days ago, and I prayed and I said, please show me a sign my twin flame is coming. And the sky, like about a week ago, was like all blue and puffy white clouds. I'm like, give me a sign in the clouds, please. I love cloud signs. And about an hour later, it was like a star with a heart mixed in, right? I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm going to become a star and he's going to love me, or maybe he already is a star and I'm going to love him. But I mean, I'll love him no matter what. I don't care if he is or isn't, but I have a feeling that he is. I've been feeling like he's famous, and that's why we haven't met yet. And sometimes when your twin is famous, it takes a long time. Like maybe their career has to be kind of over, or they're at their point where they're ready to retire or do something different before they meet their twin, but I don't know if it's true or not. But a person of power and influence could have a profound influence on your direction in life. Well, hopefully that happens for all of us, right? So even though the semi-sextile is classed as a minor aspect, this is an important influence on full moon, October 2019, because it links the two directly aspected planets that we just talked about. It is also applying or getting closer to exactness on October 17th, which will give these extra strength. So basically, all of the problems you've been having in all your relationships, it doesn't mean necessarily only romantic. Everything. It seems like everything's going to kind of freaking come to a head. And maybe it'll get worse. Like, my oldest still isn't talking to me. It's been a couple weeks, and I've been having negative dreams about that. And I had a sad dream about my other son who got into an accident, fell down like a flight of like 200 stairs or something. It was like ridiculous, a really ridiculous dream. I woke up totally panicked and freaked out and crying my heart out, and my eyes have been swollen all day because of my bad dreams and just venting a lot of stuff out. I mean, I slept like 12 hours. That's one reason why this is late, because I've just been emotionally just drained all day because of these dreams. I do a lot of dream work, and it's been kind of crazy. I'm going to read some more from this, and then we'll get into the other stuff. Constellation Andromeda is the chained woman. Well, I kind of feel like that. Chained as far as I don't have enough money, and chained as far as I don't really have love in my life, and all my friends are dying, and there's nothing I can do about that. And I thought your friends are supposed to die when you're like 70 years old, not 50. And a lot of my friends were in their like late 20s and early 30s when they died. And this is just not fair. It's been really bumming me out this week. In addition to the other random crap that's going on around the world and in my country that I want to be my new country. And even what has happened has made me question if I even want to stay here. And then where do I want to go? And I'm like, Thailand, Italy, France, Spain. You could buy a medieval village for $50,000. Maybe I could buy a drone taxi from the Arab world, and, because there's no roads leading to the medieval villages, just dirt trails that were hundreds of years ago traversed by horses, and I'd have to hack away at all of it with a machete, and I might be just too old for that shit, to be honest. So I'm kind of like, where else in the world do I even go? Where do I even belong in this world? And I've been questioning like that. And I think that some of the bigger issues like that, the bigger, huge emotional and spiritual crises questions are coming to light. At least for me, they are. Do you guys have that? Is that going on with you? Like, where you're just like, am I really doing the right career? Am I really doing the right thing? Do I really want to do that? Do I really want to be with that person? Do I really want a relationship? Like the big questions. And I've been looking back at my past also at this time going, well, how many of those people really loved me that I thought loved me, and I loved them? And how many of them loved me more than I loved them? And I don't think anyone. I think I loved them all more than they loved me. And I feel like I gave too much of myself away to people that just didn't damn deserve it. As I wanted it so bad. And I've been thinking about my family that died. My dad yesterday, of course. And, but my grandparents and all the people I really, 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 really loved like my whole life. And they're just all gone. They're all dead. So it's, do I really have the fight in me to keep going, And like these deep personal spiritual crisis type of conversations have been taking place in my head. And if it's been happening for you too, this is why. Okay, so the constellation Andromeda is the chained woman. And it gives purity of thought, virtue, honor, and dignity. But it causes battle with chimerical fears and a tendency to become easily discouraged. Well, that helps me because now I know my discouragement might just be the stupid astrology. So maybe it's not 100% from me, right? And anyway, this constellation gives love between husband and wife and reconciles adulterers. Oh, is that why the guy that I thought for sure would be in a relationship with me just frickin', he's trying to reconcile the friendship part, I know, it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. So it says that, this is very weird. I don't understand what this means. But it says the 14th Chinese lunar mansion, I guess that's where we're at, says it's a lucky mansion associated with archives of some sort or a treasury. Ooh, maybe the Akashic records. The mansion of exalted virtue presides over literature, the fine arts, and scholarship, but also lies and slander. Good for digging or extensions on buildings. Opening doors will bring great wealth to one's family. Well, hold on, guys. I'm going to go unlock my door right now. Just kidding. That's not what it means, but whatever helps. By respecting one's ancestors, one can gain riches and official recognition. Children born on this day will be very accomplished and will bring honor to their parents. If you get married now, the education of your children will bring good fortune. What? That doesn't make any sense to me, but I don't know. Maybe you have to be Chinese to understand that question. That if you get married now, the education of your children will bring good fortune. Who says you're going to have kids if you get married? I don't. I can't even with that. So the full October summary is that so while relationship and other crises are possible, God, all of October has been a freaking crisis for this country and many countries. There will be plenty of opportunities to make progress and resolve problems once and for all. The most long-term influence is Jupiter's semi-sextile Pluto, which also is helpful. While it may be subtle, it keeps pushing you to improve things gradually but relentlessly. Andromeda also has a positive influence, especially on strained relationships. Good. All right. So a full moon has a relationship to the previous new moon. So the previous new moon in September 28th brought love, enjoyment, and good fortune. This is yet another positive influence on full moon October 2019. The October 13th full moon lasts for 2 weeks up until the next new moon, October 27th. So that's pretty cool. And there's more, but okay, in Sydney, Australia, 8:07 a.m. is when the full moon started on the 14th, but 2:07 p.m. on the 13th in Los Angeles. So we're right in the middle of the full moon energy, right? So it's going to be for a while. Then tomorrow it will start already to wane again, W-A-N-E. So there you have it. That's pretty much what's going on at the moon. It seemed like a big one, and I wanted to read to you guys, not write. All right. Yeah, I had some like really freaking crazy dreams. Like I had a dream that a tiger, I was holding paws of a tiger while he's getting dental work done, and he was a Hollywood actor, this tiger, right? And he was they were cleaning his teeth because he got a new role, and they asked me to be the assistant, and I had a calming influence on the animals, and in my dream, like I was like a consultant for a veterinarian that worked with only Hollywood stars, animal stars. It was like the most bizarre dream. Like I was living in LA and I was living in a really fancy hotel, and I'm like, this is really bizarre. Didn't make any sense. It's like, I don't like, why would I be the consultant for that? It was like so strange, but it was this job that I loved, and I was always going to the vet when they needed me. Usually I was working with cats and dogs, and this time they had me working with a brown baby bear, and who was being very good in the lobby, so he wasn't a problem for anybody. But then this tiger needed calming influence, and I went to cuddle with him, and I had to hold his paws, and they gave him the anesthesia, and he was still moving around. They gave him a double dose instead of just a little bit extra, and they killed him, and he died while I was holding him. And it was like another one of those dreams. I just woke up absolutely bawling my head off. So all day long I've been really disturbed by these crazy dreams, and like, what the hell does that mean? Like, why, what is it? The tiger has literally no symbol. There's no symbology at all for me. Like, tiger doesn't really mean anything to me, like, other than I love all animals, and tigers included, but nothing that has ever been a dream symbol for me before. There's nobody I know who like super loves tigers, or I don't know anything about what the hell does that mean? What does it even mean? What the hell does that mean? Like, so it's been like all day like this, and this is why today I'm late on getting the show out, because I've been watching movies and trying not to think about it, and then in between movies, I watched 2 movies today. One to Jennifer Aniston. Oh my God, We're the Millers. It's hilarious. It's a good movie. It's a really good movie if you guys want to see it. But it's on Netflix right now. And there was like a really sweet moment at the very end, so make sure you watch the credits, because they do all the outtakes, and there's a couple sweet moments. But I don't know, it's like crazy. I'm making sure that we have everything. Now, the Schumann resonance from IT, disclosurenews.it, they have like no information right now. It's 2 days in a row. They haven't had any information. It's been kind of crazy. I don't know what's going on over there. I know I've been having electronic issues, sometimes with my TV, sometimes with my phones. Yesterday I was recording my show, and I was just at the end getting ready to publish, and all of a sudden my phone shut off. I had 72% charge. I know that it takes 58% charge to do a full-length show, and I still have 5 or 6% at the end, and so it's always okay. I had 72 at the beginning, and right at the end it just shut off out of nowhere. And it never should have done that. I would have had 20% charge left over by my calculations. So I know my energy field has been affecting all the electronics. And that's why the last chapter that I read in the book last night was cut in half. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed, it was like a second section. And I didn't do that on purpose. It's just my phone did it. And I'm like, I would have had to redo the whole thing or just let it go. So I just decided it had already been, I just let it go. I was already in an emotional funk when this guy contacted me. I was sad and I'd been crying all day and I didn't know why. I think it's just this full moon's really been affecting me. And I was just really sad and just bummed about everything, bummed about my life. Like I met my new friend over the internet. He's normally here in Cuenca. And he said, well, I'm going to go out of town and I'll be back in 2 days. And I want to take you out. I can't wait to meet you in person. We have all this stuff in common. He's like, I don't have any friends here. I'm like, I don't either. And he grew up here, not in the city necessarily, but he's been here a long time and he doesn't have any friends. He's an introvert like me. I'm like, oh, it'd be so nice to get together. And then all of a sudden the crisis broke out. And for 11 days, we've been wanting to get together and he's still stuck in Machala. And I'm like, what the hell? I can't wait to meet this person. And he wrote me tonight. He's like, okay, thank God. Peace talks happened. It looks like if all goes well, I will be able to come home tomorrow, which means we'll see each other by the weekend. I'm like, that's so awesome because he's so intelligent and smart and he knows about all of the stuff I talk about on the show. Pleiadians and, ET stuff and supernatural stuff. And he grew up in Latacunga, which I think is a pretty wild area as far as pictures I've seen. It's really cool. It's in the mountains, here in the Andes Mountains, but hours away. It's 4 or 5 hours from here. It's colder than where I'm at, maybe even higher up in elevation. But it's beautiful, right? It's so beautiful up there. And I don't know, I'm just I'm looking forward to actually having a friend here, it's so nice, the idea of and even today he's like, I'm so excited, I'm going to finally get to meet you, I'm so happy, so am I, actually I'm really happy about that. So I don't know, maybe I needed this closure with this other person yesterday and today to just kind of put that to bed. And then, now we could start fresh as friends only, nothing else, and kind of take some weird pressure off there. And so I've been going through the forgiveness thing today with him, and it's been really weird, emotional, last 2 or 3 days, not just from I've had so many layers of emotional stuff come up that I'm glad to get rid of it, just frankly. A lot of thoughts of the past. I think it's not only the astrology, but it's also the Ascension, and we're all going through this stuff on one level or another. All right, California started off at midnight in the Schumann resonance at 136 hertz frequency. By 4 a.m., they were at 149. Hofu, Saudi Arabia started off at 88 on the Schumann resonance and went up to 90 by 4 a.m. Lithuania started off at 119 and only went down to 118 4 hours later. Alberta, Canada started off at 156 and just went down to 155 4 hours later. And Northland, New Zealand started off at 65, went only to 63. And the one that's been really super big, it has been Hulului, South Africa. They started off at 135 and they ended up 141. But the winner chicken dinner has always been Alberta, Canada lately. So, I mean, not lately, but before, that's where they were always the highest energy point. So they're back to being the one with the most hertz frequency again. Even though overall Hulului, South Africa, which was 0 for it seemed like 11 or 12, 2 weeks almost, and they were over a 600 hertz frequency, so they more than made up for it. So I don't know. That could be affecting us all too as well, We are on lesson 125 in A Course in Miracles today. In quiet, I receive God's word today. In quiet, I receive God's word today. Let this day be a day of stillness and quiet listening. Your Father wills you hear his word today. He calls to you from deep within your mind where he abides. Hear him today. No peace is possible until his word is heard around the world, until your mind, in quiet listening, accepts the message that the world must hear to usher in this quiet time of peace. It's so weird, right? Every freaking time I read a lesson, or at least parts of the lessons, how it goes along with all the things I've just been saying. The peace talks happened today. The present indigenous people reached an accord. We have peace in Ecuador once again. And here I'm talking about the quiet time of peace. No peace is possible until his word is heard around the world. Whew. That just gives me the chills. In quiet, I receive God's word today. Lesson 125, in case you want to read the rest of it. It's a really long lesson today. Oh my God, it's kind of long. But it's really, really helpful. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, I am going to talk about what the different kinds or types of shamanism are. And we're going to go through a checklist, and you're going to see maybe you're a true shaman and you don't even know it yet. So we're going to take a quiz and see if you are a shaman. Right after these messages. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you. Shamanism. We're going to take a quiz in a minute, to see if you may or may not be a shaman. But I wanted to give a couple notes first before we get right into it. I am a Heyoka lightning shaman. And when you look up the word shaman, or you look up what are the types of shamans or varieties of shamans, no one says Heyoka shaman and nobody says lightning shaman in any of the websites I visited. And so I think that the information that is available to us, at least what I can find on Google, it's limited. It seems limited to me. And even if I was able to come up with a comprehensive list, even that might be limited, because I think that every shaman is different and comes about it in a different way, and maybe uses a wide variety of methods that makes them unique. Just like individuals that we are, shamans are unique individuals as well. I am a Heyoka lightning shaman, and lightning shaman means I was struck by lightning. And that gave me a great deal of insight. Not at first. At first I was just stunned, and I left my body and went and talked to God for a while. But it was an initiation. 24 hours after I asked God to take over my life, and I would be the instrument of His will on earth. In spiritual terms, this is called taking on the mantle. I don't recommend it for anybody. Oh my God, because my life has been really, really hard since I did this, but I knew I did what I had to do. It was in my soul contract to come to the conclusion that I need to be an instrument of God's will on this earth. And I have always been a Heyoka shaman, but I did not know it until recent years. In fact, I didn't realize that I was a shaman in training my whole life. I just was me. And only in this past year have I realized, oh my God, holy crap, I'm actually a shaman. That's what I've been doing all these years. Releasing hundreds of thousands of spirits that were trapped in this realm. Healing hundreds of cats and dogs. Strays that randomly came up to me, or people's pets that would escape so that they could come to my doorstep 3 flights up in my apartment building waiting for me. Sometimes there's been lines of animals, 2 or 3, waiting in line to see me as an animal healer. And these are usually stray animals when I was in Peru. And as soon as I got to Ecuador, the animals really didn't want anything to do with me, except for a dog that was half dog and half wolf, a black wolf. And he bit me. He wanted to play with me, and he got a little rambunctious, and he bit me in the arm and drew blood. And I bruised my arm for about a month. Now, it might have been an initiation as well. When you're a shaman, you go through a series of initiations. Holding a giant Amazon snake, and it was one of my initiations. Having him stare into my eyes and give me his energy. Having him call upon me the day before we met, when I didn't even know I was going to meet him. I mean, I felt him crawling on me, and I knew if I opened my eyes, there's going to be a big frickin' anaconda on top of me. I was scared to open my eyes, and I felt his head above my head, and I opened my eyes, and there was nothing there. And it wasn't my kundalini. It was the energy of an anaconda. That was another initiation. So I've been initiated by, well, a falcon, an anaconda, a wolf. And I used to have a black wolf, so it's funny that here another black wolf. I mean, I had a pet wolf. I didn't know he was a wolf until after he died, because he was a rare wolf. And I saw something on a TV show once, and I'm like, oh my God, that looks just like my dog. And then they said, well, this is a rare wolf. And I'm like, oh my God. He was probably one of the last of his kind. And I've been thinking about him a lot too lately. In fact, I had a dream. He was with me about a week ago. So I've had like a lot of, when you're a shaman, you have a lot of initiations, and it's an awakening gradually to the fact that you're here to help humanity and you're here to help the planet or animals. And there's not one of these websites talk about being an animal shaman, but I know it's a thing. There's planet shamans who take care of the planet energetically. I mean, being a shaman isn't only about healing humans. Sometimes you have to heal the energy of a place, not necessarily the planet itself, but a little point on the planet. Like I've had to go to places where slaves were kept and beaten and sometimes killed. And I've had to release the energy of that place to lighten the emotional load that Gaia herself, the spirit of the planet, takes on. And I had to release as well the spirits who died there, who were so distraught and distressed over how they died. And their other relatives were there stuck as well, that they didn't want to leave. So it was like, you know, like, I don't know, 5,000 people or something. Maybe it was like 1,500. I have it written down how many souls I had to release from that place. I've had to release Native Americans in South America and North America, groups, massive groups of people that were slaughtered, and they didn't have the right ceremony to leave. And I had to go around asking the other natives what they know about what the ceremonies were, you know, just to release them. Some people are stubborn. They expect a certain thing, and they're not going to go to heaven even though they see the light, because it doesn't feel right. They don't trust it because it doesn't fit in with their beliefs. And so they get stuck and trapped in this dimension, you know. So I think being a spiritual shaman, you know, where you're dealing with spirits, like a spirit shaman, that's also a thing. And I'm also an energetic healer, and so I'm an energy shaman as well. You know, I energetically heal people, places, things, and sometimes events, and even timelines. I'm also a timeline shaman. That's another thing. Hopping from timeline to timeline, also being able to speed up or slow down time, although I'm just still learning how to control it. I've been able to control it in my coffee cup. If my coffee got too old or burned, I've been able to reverse the time and make it fresh again. I haven't been able to control the temperature yet, but I mean, it's like a weird little exercise I learned how to do. It has to do with spirals, the energy of spirals, and I learned that. I think that being an elemental shaman, working with one or all or five of the elements, five being spirit, I think that you can be an elemental shaman, just like an elemental witch. And I think the shaman is maybe how you identify versus, you know, being a true witch. Like with a Wiccan religion, you could have magic and not be a Wiccan. You know, like I've always considered myself to be a folk magician, but the more that I've grown in my knowledge and in my energetic powers, and now with my 12 chakras open, the more I realize more about the universe and the way things are set up here, at least on this world, the more that I understand, the more I realize I'm not just a folk magician. I'm a healer, but I'm also a shaman, which kind of encompasses, at least in my mind, all of the things that you do. They're kind of out of the ordinary. I mean, a typical lawyer and doctor can't claim to be a shaman usually because they're focused on those careers, right? But I've always been on the fringe. I've been on the outside looking in, and that's given me a greater perspective. And I think that that is one of the requirements of being a shaman. And here's a paragraph on eyeofthepsychic.com, which looks like a very interesting website. It says, understanding shamans. Shamans are often depicted as outsiders. They are seen as weird people by those who do not subscribe in this belief. However, shamans can be everyday common people. They can use technology and still perform rituals. They can wear a pair of jeans and a t-shirt and still talk to spirits. I love it. It's like such a simple explanation, and it's so true. You know, I mean, you wouldn't know it to look at me that I channel living beings from other planets and other dimensions, or that I could talk to any person who has passed away from this world. That I could hook up to your higher self and channel your higher self for you. That's part of my energetic, clairvoyant telepathy, part of my shamanism that I do, right? So, you know, I just look like a normal person, though, you know, walking down the street, you know, you never know. Unless I'm in the middle of a conversation with the spirit, and sometimes I don't just have that in my mind. Sometimes I'm speaking out loud and then I realize it, and it's like, oh God, people just think I'm crazy. Maybe it's why I'm single. No, I don't do that too often, but usually just in my apartment or in my room alone. Well, I have a real conversation out loud sometimes. Not all the time, but when people think, oh, are you talking to yourself? It's like, no, actually, I'm talking to Jesus. Can't you see him? Sitting right here on my bed. Don't you see the impression? And no one ever looks at the impression that where the bed is going down a little bit. It's like, no, I think you're a little crazy. You're drunk? You've been smoking? You know, those are the kinds of conversations I have way more often with people. If I don't admit I was talking to someone else, yeah, I was just talking to myself, whatever. Get over it. Everyone should talk to themselves. But what it says on this website is that there are different kinds of shamans, and they only mention 4 kinds, and they don't mention the several I just mentioned. But it says that there are different kinds of shamanic gifts. And it's talking about, you know, in South America, a lot of people mix Christianity with shaman. And then Asia, there's this, and then, you know, this part, in Japan, there's this. And I feel like shamans don't really come from a specific society or a specific bloodline or a specific culture or from a specific religion or spiritual belief or practice. I mean, I feel like as shamans, we transcend all of societal's rules, right? All of society's fuck-upness. You know, we transcend all of that, you know? And by the way, and I started to tell you this, I'm a Heyoka shaman. I did a whole show on it. A Heyoka shaman is someone who sees through the BS of what you're saying. And if you know a person, and maybe you might be this person, you might be like me, where you just start joking and laughing about things that make the other person uncomfortable until they can eventually work it out for themselves, and then they'll come around to it being okay. And you're not bullying them or making fun of them. You just say something as a joke. And when it irritates them and it becomes like a thorn in their side that will fester and boil until they pull it out, meaning, like, for me, I joke around a lot about sexual things. And when I do that, a lot of people are made uncomfortable by that because they're uncomfortable in their own skin. They're uncomfortable with their own sexuality. They get uncomfortable with the topic in general. I had one of my friends go, you just lower the energy of the room when you talk about that. It's like, no, I didn't. I lightened the load of the room when I talk about that because what I said was hilarious or hysterically funny, and you didn't get it, and your energy went lower because you didn't understand it, or you're uncomfortable with your own sexuality, which I think might have been more the case than not, right? But a lot of times, Heyoka shamans will joke about anything, not just necessarily sex, but a lot of the Heyoka shamans that are in tribes will, in a parade, they will be the ones that, are in your face, and like the men that are heyokas will walk around naked, or they'll walk around with a little loincloth and they'll lift it up and show their wee willy winkies to everybody. And it's just to get people to laugh and be so open to joviality and frivolity and getting out of their own head. And that's what a heyoka does, right? And a lot of times I've been instigating people for years and not really realizing that it's because I am a heyoka. So I get under people's skin and I piss them off and I hurt their feelings, and I don't mean to. It's never my intention, but I do it. And what happens is the person will sometimes never talk to me again. And sometimes they come back a month or two or a year later and go, okay, I see what you were doing there. That thing stuck in my craw for like 6 months. And then I realized it was something I needed to heal about myself. And you pinpointed it. You brought it to the surface. I was able to work it out and heal it. And I feel better. And thank you. I mean, sometimes we put a thorn in people's side, and sometimes we remove a thorn that had been hidden very deep under the surface for years. That's what a heyoka does. And we don't always joke about sexual things. We joke about anything and everything, and we try not to take ourselves very seriously, and we help other people to realize that being super serious can lead to emotional dysfunction in your body, in your mind, in your heart, in yourself. And when you feel emotionally dysfunctional because you're so afraid of laughing at yourself, you take yourself so seriously that you don't see the happiness and joy around you, And so a heyoka shaman is someone who isn't very popular because we tend to point out shit that other people are afraid to mention or talk about or even look at. We're kind of in your face about some stuff. And when we are, it makes us unpopular. But also in the end, in the long run, it makes you heal faster. It makes you heal better when you learn to laugh at yourself and you learn to love yourself, warts and all, in spite of the mistakes you've made, in spite of the people you've associated with that hurt your feelings, in spite of the your shortcomings that you think you have sexually or physically or educationally or intelligently. We'll point out this stuff so that you go, oh, all right, well, it's not so important. God loves you no matter what, But the problem is you don't always love yourself no matter what, and that's why sometimes you need the heyoka shamans. People will be in the middle of a deep, deep ceremony in the native tribes, especially in the Southwest, Pueblos. They'll be really powerfully into their intense thing, and they're very serious, and this is serious. We have to be very serious. And then you have the haunted clowns in the Hopi tradition. And the haunted clowns go around and make fun of everybody, and they're disrespectful and they're rude. And what they do is they pull people away from their seriousness, taking themselves too seriously, thinking they're so self-important that no one else matters or nothing else matters and that they're better than everyone else. And it kind of knocks you down to a peg or two until you realize we're all equal and it's okay. We could kind of laugh at ourselves. Yeah, we're doing a ceremony, and yeah, it's imperative, and yeah, it's serious, but you know what? We also have the ability to laugh. A heyoka shaman is someone who would laugh at a funeral. He'll make jokes about dead people at a funeral. That's me. Don't invite me to your funeral if you want it to be serious, because I'm going to make jokes. Because I'm going to make you see the life that we have sometimes feels like one grand cosmic joke. And it's all an illusion anyway. And that's what the heyoka knows and sees. We see beyond the veil in a lot of ways. Not 100%, but in a lot of ways we get it. So anyway, I wanted to talk about this. Website says there's different kinds of shamanic gifts. They only mention 4. So it says that sometimes you'll be born with a gift or you have a near-death experience. And when you cross over to the spiritual world and then come back, that's when you become endowed with different gifts. Now I've always had the telepathy thing, and it's been more and more powerful this year, but I've had it since I was born. And I might have died or almost died as a baby, because I remember, I kind of do remember this, but my parents told me to. I was in an incubator for the first couple months of my life because I almost died. So I think I was born with the gifts because of that. And when I, as an adult, died and they brought me back to life the first time from asthma, all of a sudden I could tell you, I could see somebody, and I don't see auras, but I could tell if someone's about to die. I could tell you when they're going to die, how soon, like from now, they're going to die. Usually I could tell you what they're going to die from. There was an actor years ago, he was on Saturday Night Live. I think it was Chris Farley. Yeah, it was Chris Farley. I saw him in an interview, and I said to I was with my first husband, it was right before I left him, and I saw this interview and I went, oh my God, and I started crying, and he's like, what? I go, he's going to die about 2.5 to 3 months from now of a drug overdose, but it's going to be an accident, and he's going to be in a bar in New York City. And my husband at the time, he's just like, oh my God, what do we do? I'm like, what can we do? I don't know how to call him. I don't know how to tell him. And even if I did, he's going to think I'm just a wingnut. I'm a crazy person. Because he would never do that, right? Even though he would take drugs or whatever, he didn't, he wouldn't do anything that was going to definitely hurt himself, right? But I saw it. And sure enough, that's how he died. Exactly how he died. He had some prescription drugs. I think he took some cocaine with it, and he had a couple drinks, and I think he smoked weed, and the combination killed him. That was it. I think that's what it was. But whatever it was a combination of drugs plus alcohol, and I saw it. Like, it's just going to kill him, and I saw it. Another time I saw a guy at a gas station, and I didn't confirm it because I didn't know the guy, but the first time this happened, I saw this guy, and I looked at him, and I was with, a couple of years before, I was with this boyfriend that I was with, and he was like a different person. It was like a couple of years before when this first happened. And I went, oh my God. And he goes, what? I go, don't you see that huge black energy surrounding that guy? And he's like, no, he's just like some old dude. I'm like, he's going to die in a month from a heart attack. And he's like, how the hell do you know that? I go, I don't know. But I know that from now on, I'm going to be able to tell anytime someone's going to die. Like, suddenly death walks with me. And he said, that's weird. I'm going to go in and get like an iced tea or something. And he was going to pay for gas. We were at a gas station. And I'm like, okay. And I was sitting in the car, and I thought, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to ask him to get me something. Or I had money. I was going to buy myself like a drink as well. And I got out of the car, and halfway between where we were parked at the gas pump and where he's going to pay at the little kiosk, halfway, exactly when I got to the halfway point, a pigeon flew as fast as it could into the side of the gas station roof over the pumps and fell down dead at my feet. Moments after, I told him, death walks with me now. I picked up the pigeon, and it died in my hands. In Guatemala, a bird flew to my door and rammed itself into our window and then fell down on the bench where I used to sit to watch the volcanoes, because I kept hoping they would go off because they're far enough away there wouldn't have been a problem, but I wanted to see it because it was exciting for me. Like, ooh, look at volcano. And so this bird had come to the door, and I like heard it, and then it just flew into the window. And I went outside, and I held it in my hands and gave it Reiki and sang songs to it that I just randomly made up, and it died in my hands. And this has happened a few times where birds have died in my hands. This is the kind of weird shit that happens to shamans. So, just really weird stuff. I've been able to see it in animals if they're about to die. It's been very, very weird. But it says shamans are endowed with different kinds of shaman gifts. So it could be foresight, healing, soul retrieval, receiving and relaying messages, and any other supernatural powers. It says, but in general, there are 4 types of shamans. Well, I don't know. I think there's more than that. I mean, I don't think there's thousands, but I think there's more than 4. Heyoka is not even mentioned here. But a healer, it says shamans can heal physical ailments by consulting the spirits. And I have been able to do this. It says some physical pains can be attributed to disturbances from the minds of spirits, and the shaman will heal this by asking the spirits to heal the body of the sick person. I've done that, but mostly I've dealt with God directly. I've dealt with the energy and spirit of the person, like someone's soul, directly. And sometimes I'll ask their higher guidance. And so I don't really deal with the spirits, whatever that means, like the ancestors. Like, just because someone dies doesn't make them a spiritual master. They can heal other people, right? So I'm very careful about the spirits that I consult. Usually I'm dealing with Archangel Raphael. You know, I work with angels. But let's see, what else does it say? A shaman would also use the most bountiful pharmacy, nature, and natural cures for sickness, ointments, salves, potions, mixtures, and plasters, and various basically plant things to cure disease. I have done that. You know, for years I've been fascinated by herbal things, and I've had past life memories where I was an herbal healer at least 3 different times before this life, and I've always gone towards a natural healing things for my kids before I take them to the doctor. If they don't feel good within an hour or 2, it's like, all right, time to go to the doctor. Let's go the Western medicine way. But then I always combine the 2. So anyway, the second kind of shaman they mentioned is soul retrievers. It's said that at times a person is sick or feels bothered, she or he has a part of his soul that feels like it's gone missing. Spirits may take part of a person's spirit, which can cause him pains and anxiety. I don't think this is true. No one takes your spirit or your soul or a piece. I don't believe this is true. I have met people who have gone through a trauma and they feel like they left a part of their soul back there, wherever the trauma was, but they dropped that part of themselves. And you could reach back and grab it, but sometimes they need a counselor to help them regain and feel whole again. But I think what that really means, honestly, is like post-traumatic stress disorder. If I'm going to use my psychology degree for a moment, that's what I think it is. It says another person can steal portions of a person's soul in order to spite him, or when at times a person doesn't want the other person to leave. I don't know about this. I feel like what this person who wrote this article is missing is that when you have sex with somebody, you are tied to them for 10 more years. Energetically, you're linked. And it takes 10 years for the energy to dissipate. So you don't really leave a part of your soul back. It's just that you are walking a road together, even if you're apart. And you have to do egg magic, which I've talked about before, to release the energy of that person or persons. If you've slept with several people and you haven't done the egg cleansing, you're going to be tied to many different people, and it holds you back energetically because now you have these strings. And if you can see it from a higher spiritual perspective, you would see the strings between you and people. Just like you'd see the strings between you and your refrigerator door or your bathroom handle or your front door, because everything you touch, not just sexually, but everything you touch, your laptop, your TV, your guitar, your bowls that you eat off of at night, or your plates. You have energetic ties to everything. You have to retrieve that energy and pull it back into your body to feel whole again. So you just have to be aware of it, that you can learn how to do it. But it says that, like when your mother or father does not want you to leave, or they don't want you to marry or work somewhere else in like another city, they might hold you back, is what's saying here. You might feel feelings of distress when a part of your soul is cut away. So in this case, the shaman will go to the other realms to search for that missing part of your spirit and return it to you. So I feel like it's not really part of your soul, though, for real. But I feel like it's that energetic tie in the lines that I've seen. When on mushrooms, on blue mushrooms, you can definitely see these lines. If you watch TV or hang out with friends and just sit around laughing, you're not going to see it or be aware of it. But if you meditate while on blue mushrooms, and I've done this a couple times, I've seen all the energetic ties of everything. And you have to learn to pull, retract, or cut the ties that bind you to things, people, events, and places. And a shaman can help you with that. So I don't really think it's literally a piece of your soul. Your soul cannot be fractured, as we learned in the Kardec book last week, which I already knew. But spiritual healers is someone who is responsible for the psyche of a person. He can help heal the aching heart, fix broken emotions, cure jealousy, anger, worry, doubt, abasement, anxiety, even depression. He can induce hypnosis to help a person find the broken pieces of his psyche. See, and this I agree with, but I'm an energetic healing shaman, so I also do this too. I talk to people about emotional stuff. Where are you broken? Where can you So that's interesting. Now, messengers are the people that basically talk to dead, departed relatives and friends and spirits, and basically telepathic and clairvoyant communication. It says here on livethepsychic.com, some of the messages are for the future, like predictions of what's to come. And you might see psychics that have this gift. Messages can include messages about the past, but also could be about the future as well, or it could be about the present, what's going on. I've been able to see if someone is asking about someone, should I marry them? And I've seen the other person in bed with somebody else sometimes. And I had a friend who was living with his boyfriend, and he's like, oh, read my tarot. And he's all excited. And I said, so I see you in a restaurant next to a bar. There's an orange booth and it's very sticky and you're complaining about it, like every little detail. And I'm like, and then you go to bed with this guy that you just met at the club and he looks like this and this is what his towel looks like. His apartment is like this and this is what it smells like. I saw everything. And he looked at me and he was just like, huh. And he didn't say a damn word. 3 weeks go by and he calls me and he's like, I am so freaked out right now because you saw something that happened like a month before. And I couldn't tell if it was the future or the past. I couldn't tell. But I was just a messenger. And I go, but what it told me was that he wasn't ready to be in a committed relationship and he needs to get out of it. And he did. And he became happier after that. Interesting though, right? So there are messages that tell you how to go about with your life. Some messages are for the community, like planting crops, hunting for food, who to make peace with, that kind of thing. So, all right, we're going to go over I found an article called The 11 Signs That You Might Be a Shaman and Don't Know It. And it's from lonerwolf.com. One of the signs that this person mentions is Mateo Sol is his name. Mateo mentions if you're born deformed, that might be a sign you're shaman. I don't know, like if you have a 6th finger or a 6th toe, I don't have that. I don't think this is true necessarily. I think that's a sign that you're genetically inbred, that you have some genetic issues, but maybe he was just mentioning that because he knew someone who was a shaman, and maybe it is. Maybe you have to have some kind of wound or something. Like for me, I have asthma, so maybe that is true. So we could call it 11, but I'm not going to say if you have a 6th toe or 6th finger, that means you're a shaman. Like, I met a lawyer who could play the flute really well, and she had 6 fingers on each hand, but she had them removed, the extra one. And I'm like, damn, if you hadn't had that removed, you would have been a really good flute player. You probably could have played things other people couldn't, you know? It was kind of freaky. She had scars on the side of her hands. I'm like, well, basically, it just means you're inbred, though. Genetically speaking, scientifically, you got to, in this modern world, you have to have some science along with spirituality, in my opinion. But this person describes it, Mateo Sol describes shamanism as a collection of ancient techniques that help awaken and expand your consciousness, as well as heal humanity's inner wounds. That's what shamanism is. And I agree with that. He says it's the earliest form of religion. I don't think it's a religion. It's a spirituality, but maybe that's just the word he uses. But I think it's more of a spirituality than a religion. And it says that it's the earliest form that our ancestors experienced. This is true. I agree with this. And so basically, he's talking about nature immersion and incessant trance dancing and ingesting hallucinogenic plants, chanting, fasting, and all these things that bring about mystical experiences. I agree with some of this stuff. I mean, I didn't do incessant trance dancing to become a shaman. I've spent time observing nature, so that did help with me. I do more meditating than any of those things. Hallucinogenic plants, yes, absolutely. It does help. But it's not what made me a shaman. I was already a shaman when I was already on the way. I was already on the shamanic path when I tried mushrooms for the first time. And when I smoke weed, it's always to meditate and get in touch with deeper things. Helps to relax my mind and body so that I can get in touch with the spirit world better. Anyway, so let's get ahead to... It says also training as wounded healers. By the time we become adults, most of us are so alienated from ourselves and the earth, indoctrinated by media and deluded by false needs created by the consumer culture, that there's little hope for us connecting with the other world surrounding us. That is one of the truest statements that I've ever read in my life, I think. Mateo, you go, man. This is cool. Lonerwolf.com. In tribal culture, shamans and healers experience an illness oftentimes that gave them the insight they needed to heal themselves and bring wisdom to their people. All right, well, that would be for me, all the things I've gone through. So yeah, I think the wounded healer, because you have to be wounded first and heal yourself in order to be stronger on spiritual levels and physical levels and emotional, every level actually, and you do use that to heal other people. I agree with that, absolutely. Socrates said, our greatest blessings come to us by way of madness. I agree with that too. So it says that it's a great struggle that shamans have to break free from their illness and awaken to the truth, but by learning how to cure themselves, they learn how to cure other people. And that's why shamans are often called the wounded healers. Awesome, right? Okay. There are 11 signs of the shamanic calling. One, we already talked about the physical stuff. I don't think always having a 6 finger means that, or if you're born blind or go blind. I think because there's a lot of, in movies, there's a lot of people that the seers and the soothsayers, and they could see you, but they're blind, and it freaks everyone out. Like, how are they seeing, It's always, I think it was even in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. There's always someone who's blind and they have the one eye clouded over or 2 clouded over eyes, and yet they could see, and it's really freaks everyone out. I don't know if you guys remember ever seen that in movies, but I've read about it and I've seen it in movies. It's always a blind seer, which is always like the irony, right? They're blind, but they still can see the future, the past, and spiritually they could see you. I think I danced with a shaman who was blind. I told you guys about that. So I think that was my first or second episode ever in January. So, all right. There are 3 stages to becoming a shaman. There's the calling, there's the training, and the initiation process. In the past, you were trained by a mentor or older shaman, but in today's world, most shamans won't even recognize their calling to even begin the training. Most people undergoing a shamanic calling won't understand what it is, what's happening to them, and they will sometimes be overwhelmed by fear. But it's through training that the shaman in the making becomes a master of the sacred and of being able to effectively find, protect, and use the creative but intense energies of the sacred for therapeutic and other beneficial purposes. So here are the signs you might experience if you are being called to the shamanic path. You feel a strong connection to nature. You know that there is a web of life. You are one with everything. You kind of sense it, feel it, know it. You feel more whole when you're out in nature. You feel nurtured by being in nature. You see the mutual dependence nature has on us and we have on nature. You start to see the oneness and connectedness of all life, and it's the interconnectedness when you're outside in nature. That might be a calling. Some people go outside and go, yeah, it's a pretty day, it's nice out, and they don't really feel the calling. But you might feel like pains in your stomach or in your chest, or like a little bit in your throat, like you're about to cry when you have to get back inside, or you have to leave a place of beauty. Or you might go to a place of beauty and feel such a deep connection that you're bawling. I went to Denver, Colorado, and I went just west of the city with my friend, and all of a sudden I started crying, and it was uncontrollable. And he's like, what did I do? Did I hurt did I say something? Is it me? I'm like, no, oh my God. And he's like, what is it? I'm like, well, look at the mountains. He goes, yeah, they're pretty, but I'm not crying, right? And I'm like, it's just, I just realized, like, on a whole other level, God is real. And he's like, what do you mean? You know, I was like, of course God's real. I'm like, look at the beauty around you. Only God could have created this. And I felt my connection to God and nature, the universe, and I felt and sensed my oneness with everything and everybody. All of a sudden, when I saw these mountains, it brought me to my core being. And he just kind of looked at me and he goes, okay, I can tell you something. The same thing happened to me when I first came here. He was also a shaman. I don't think he even knows he is to this day, but so strong connection to nature where it just brings you back to your core. Number 2, you find that it's hard to fit in with other people, and you rather be alone, like your solitude. When you live on the outskirts of your city or your village, you like to spend a lot of time alone in your room or outside in nature, even, or both. You're considered eccentric, different, outside of the crowd. You have to be. If you're a shaman, you're outside because you have to look in to see the issues and problems that you need to help people with. If you're a part of it and you're in the thick of it, you're not going to understand what's going on. So it says, according to the lonerwolf.com website, that in the older tribes, the shamans who were eccentric or different were respected because of the wisdom that they shared with people, because of their unique gifts and their sensitivities. And they never fit typically in society because they are the bridges between this world and the unseen worlds. Because most shamans, he doesn't say this, but I know this, most shamans are world walkers. World walkers. You know, I know I walk between death and life, and I feel Harry comes to me. I call him Harry. That's the spirit of death. He'll come to me and talk to me. Just sometimes he'll come and comfort me before a death. He came to me and spent all night long with me the day before my mom died, my birth mom. And the day that my other mom died, he was with me like the next day for a little bit to comfort me. He not only brings souls over, that if you're a shaman, he will be with you. And death does walk with me. Death walks with my son. My son is a world walker as well. He's very intense, and he brings out emotions and chaos in people so that they can create their own calm from a real point of view versus from their BS facade that they put over themselves. So that's another thing. Shamans, we are bridges, and we are world walkers. So 3, if you have ever experienced a near-death experience or an out-of-body experience or mystical experiences that left you forever changed, that's a sign that you are having the calling to become a shaman. So it says to be a shaman, you have to experience a complete death and rebirth. And often this is a temporary illness or a shocking crisis or something that ignites your existential crisis. My youngest had an existential crisis when he was like 6 years old. He has been from a very young age a shaman. And I've been watching him go through his initiations and his building up to it. He'd be on the playground alone, away from all the other kids, meditating. I mean, that made him completely weird. The first time he said, "How do you meditate?" and I taught him, he sat on the couch for like 2 hours without moving in silent stillness. That's not normal for a 6-year-old. He's been a shaman his whole life. So it says it's overwhelming and healing from having this terrifying ordeal, but it's through this that the shaman to be surrenders everything that they know to be true. And that's when the wisdom that they're meant to learn comes in. That surrender is incredible. When you reach that point, then all hell breaks loose and the dark night of the soul ensues, but we're going to go over that on another night. So number 4, you feel subtle healing energy in your hands. Sometimes I think it's in your body. If you're a hugger and you hug people and they feel so good that they don't want to let go of you, that's another sign. Like some people will hug you extra and they feel like they're taking energy from you. And they're not always energy vampires. Sometimes they're sick and your energy is special and it will heal them. But it says here, many shamans are born as curanderos, basically masters of the living energy. And they have the ability to control and manipulate the energy in their bodies and the bodies of others. And carrying healing energy is manifested oftentimes as having good circulation of blood in your hands. And your hands always feel warm to the touch, or sometimes just boiling hot. And sometimes you might feel the subtle energy that emanates from your hands. I've had this in my whole body and in my hands. And ever since I got Reiki specifically, that's also a sign. Number 5, you have the ability to read others. So some shamans are born with the gift of vision or the capacity to look at people, see the illnesses that they might be carrying or spiritual obstacle that they have to overcome. And people with the shamanic calling frequently will report psychic abilities such as clairvoyance, clairaudience, and also paranormal experiences. And that's true. And I think that's not just being able to read other people. I mean, you could see spirits or feel and sense them and have conversations with them and find out where they're, if you're a death walker like me, I heal psychologically spirits who are still walking the earth because they're unfinished. They have unfinished business. I once counseled a soldier right after he died in a war over in Iraq. He was an American soldier. And he said to me, I was going to ask my girlfriend to marry me, and I didn't get a chance to tell her how much I loved her, and now I'm dead, and what the hell? And I had to sit and counsel him for a long time. Like, he kept me up for like 4 hours one night, just counseling him. And a lot of times they'd come to me, and I literally have to do psychological counseling to spirits, to ghosts. So when you're a world walker, you're not only healing people that are alive, you're healing people that have already passed, but they are stuck somehow. So number 6, you have ancestors who were healers or medical herbalists. And I'm going to add to this one, you yourself in another life were a healer or a medical herbalist. Because that's another sign you're a shaman. If you start remembering past lives, or you get weird, eerie feelings when you walk into a city, or like the first time you're in a place you've never been, but all of a sudden you get a deep, powerful feeling that you are a healer or a herbalist, like an alchemist or something from another life. That, I think, is a sign that you're definitely meant to be a shaman in this life. It says many cultures believe the gift of being a shaman is inherited and can only be passed down through generations. I don't really believe that's true, but what he says, of course, in today's world, it's impossible to know whether any of our ancestors were healers or our recent ancestors, much like ourselves. They don't claim and cultivate their shamanic gifts. See, I think that's where this world went wrong. And I'm sure this is what Mateo Sol believes as well. Number 7, you have vivid or prophetic dreams. So shamans are born with the natural ability to travel between realms, see, being a world walker, to bring back information and see visions of future events through their dreams. Sometimes you're meant to know what's going to happen. Sometimes you're meant to know so that you could prevent something from happening, or you can make a choice whether you want it to happen or not. Sometimes you have a prophetic dream so that you could tell people to avoid certain things. Maybe tomorrow, maybe don't wear that tie. It's too long. It's going to get caught in something. You're going to choke. Or maybe don't take your car tomorrow or take the bus. Because I see an accident that's waiting to happen tomorrow if you take a car. Those kind of things. When I was in high school, I had a dream that I got pregnant by somebody, and then he showed up to school a week later, brand new to the school, and I avoided him like the plague till I was 17, because I knew that when I was 16 I was going to be pregnant with him, and it was going to rip apart our families, and I did not want that to happen. I explained it to him when I was 17. I thought he was Native American. I thought he would understand, but he wasn't in touch with that part of himself, and he was just like looking at me like as a mad woman. I wonder if he ever thought about that conversation, or if he just completely put it out of his head. It'd be really interesting to know. Anyway, number 8, you are visited by spirit animals. They're guides, and they share vital information with you, and they serve as reminders. And sometimes the animals, or hybrid animals, or half animal, half human sometimes, like mermaids, or also magical mythical creatures like dragons and Pegasus or unicorn. Those kind of energies come through sometimes. Spirit animals are guides, and they come to us in our dreams. Sometimes you'll get a picture, or a notebook will show up, or someone will like go in front of you, and they'll have like something like on their backpack. You'll just see it, and you're like, whoa, there's that animal again. There's that animal again. That's so weird. I had a conversation with someone who said that frogs kept showing up, like physically in her yard. And then she'd go to someone's house, and the person would have, oh, look at my new collection of frogs. I decided to collect frogs. Or someone would go, oh, that stupid frog from France. They'd be like a racist or a bigot saying something negative, but with that word again. Like, what the hell is going on, right? And that's just a spirit animal trying to reach out to you in every possible way they could. 9, you see things that other people can't see. The ability to access hidden realms, other dimensions, starts at a very early age, like seeing fairies or having an imaginary friend. To be an effective shaman, you have to have the fluidity of your mind to be way open and receptive to the new information of the cosmos and the universe. It's unique, this trait, but a lot of shamans have been mentally ill, according to modern medicine. They've been labeled and prescribed medicine, even though it's not really a mental illness. Having said that, if you go to a place where there's been battle and you start getting massive headache, it's because you're meant to release the spirits from a land. If you keep going to one specific area of town and then you keep getting a headache every time you're there, a lot of times it's the spirits pressing on your head. When you get headaches a lot, it's that the other spiritual realms are trying to reach you because you have the calling. Especially if these headaches do not have anything, like every time you eat peanuts you get a headache, that's an allergy, right? But if it's the spirits, it's not going to have any rhyme or reason until you go, oh, and then you got to meditate and pray on it, and you'll find out, you'll figure it out. Number the 10th one, I'm not going to talk about the physical abnormalities that set you apart because I'm not really sure. I'm not always sure that this one's true. I do know the wounded healer. So we'll say 11. There's 11 of these. And the 10th one is being a wounded healer. If you have a weird deformity or something that sets you apart from people early on, that could be a sign, but not always. So we'll just say the wounded healer if you've healed yourself from something major or through an emotional or psychological trauma. And then you feel the need to share that with others and help others. 11, the last but not least, you feel a calling to help other people, heal them, or ease their suffering. And that doesn't always mean humans that are alive. Again, you could be a counselor to the dead, or you can be someone who has to work with animals, other realms, nature, earth, Mother Earth. You might be a shaman that can predict volcanic eruptions and earthquakes or storms with your body, like being a weather witch is an example of that. But if you want to heal the suffering of others, that is, and you feel a calling that you got to help, I've got to help. I'm a light worker, I've got to help somehow. That's a sign that you are a shaman. Anytime you see someone suffering, you feel like you have to do something about it. You cannot just let it go. You have to do it because you want to reestablish the lost harmony that is within the web of life, according to Mateo Sol. Well, there it is, guys. Those are the signs that you may be a shaman and don't know it. We'll call it 11 signs, but there's a lot of different kinds of shamans, and those are the signs that you might be on your way to becoming the true shaman that you were always meant to be. And how cool and exciting is that? All right, I want to thank you guys for listening to the show, and thank you in advance for sharing it with your Facebook groups and your Instagram and Twitter and all your people that you know personally that are also very interested in spiritual things. Some of my shows might appeal to people you know. Maybe someone needs help with vitamins or minerals or whatever, just tell them about my episodes. Just share whatever you can, and I thank you in advance for that. And those of you who've already been doing that, thank you. I have seen in the past 8 weeks, I jumped from 40 dedicated listeners to 100 dedicated listeners, and that means there's another 100 people that haven't been listening to every single episode, but they're still listening. So it's starting to work, and so thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to also thank you guys for being on this ascension journey with me. I'd like to thank Michelle for sending me a bunch of really spooky stories. It's shaping up to be a wonderful Halloween for Metaphysical Ghost Speak. It's not too late to get your stories in. Please get them into me. We have 15 days or 16 days. Yeah, 15 days. 2 weeks, okay? We'll say two. Let's just call it 2 weeks. I need to get your stories in by 2 weeks from now. Send them to metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com so we can have a nice Metaphysical Ghost Speak episode for Halloween. Also, your Santa Claus and Christmas miracle stories, Hanukkah, Diwali, anything. It doesn't have to be a Christian-based miracle story, but anything around the holiday time. If you've ever seen Santa Claus streaking through the sky with his reindeer, I want to hear it. I won't have to say your name. You could tell me. Please say this anonymously if you're embarrassed by it, but we want to hear it because I have a very special Christmas episode planned. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Thank you for being on this journey. Thank you for choosing to be on Earth at this time and ascending. I think it's pretty cool what we're all doing collectively together. Mitakiwe Oyasin. We all are one. And another one is Aicha Achachinta China. If you are a Chiricahua Apache, you know this. It basically means, well, I hope to see you again if we both should live as long. I'm signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. Until next time, guys, peace. Do you ever wish you could look into the next chapter in your book of life and see what's coming next? What does the universe have in store for you? I can help you with that. I will give you a Celtic cross reading, which is 10 cards, or you can ask me 3 questions, and I use 3 cards per question. So that's 9 cards, or I can channel your higher guidance, or maybe God directly for you. Maybe you want to talk to your dear departed Aunt Edna, because maybe you have a few questions and she was the smartest person you knew. If your deceased relatives are available or your ascended masters, I can channel them for you personally. Let me have 1 hour to show you the future in your next chapter of your book of life. Readings are $75, and it takes me an hour to an hour and a half to complete. And for this price, you will also be hooked up to the healing grid around the planet for free, which means yours truly, me, I will be giving you Reiki 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of your life. All you have to do is let me know. metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com, and we will explore your future together.